Welcome back. I'm Hunter, your code cleric, and this is my full stack 3-tier cluster bank project. This uses the MERN stack, and I'd like to show you around. First off, my initial goal of this project was to make something that looked really neat, something that would just pop off the page, and I used Three.js to create this cluster crystal and the particles that are swirling around it. I hope my goal was accomplished. I wanted something that looked nice right off the bat, and this was kind of the little step that I took to learn something new, to find a new something that would just make me go, mwah, chef's kiss. But for the little nitty-gritty of how the project itself works, you can see I have a nav bar at the top with several selections of pages. Every page, including this home page right here, uses a card, and the cards have forms on them. Every single page uses the same card component and form component, and I think what that does is help make them look nice and uniform. All of the pages look very similar, and I think that gives a consistent and clean look to the whole web page. And that was really my goal starting off with this. I didn't want something that looked thrown together or pages that were just inconsistent in the way they were styled. And I think using the same component for every page has really helped make it all come together and look very collected. The problem with that, however, was once I established all the different forms and the different things that would be on the card, it became a little more complicated when I wanted to add something new, like the extra create an account through Google button. Because every page uses the same card and the same form, I had to create extra statements to make sure that when I added something to one page, they wouldn't be added to another page. So even though it made everything look good, it became a little constraining the more I added to the project. So just something to think about for the future. I think it ended up looking the way I wanted it, but it just became more constraining the more I went. So just something to think about. For this project, minimize this here. You can see the different pieces that I have for every page as a component. Here we have all the component pages, and I also have there's the card component and the form component. You can see the card component, very simple. It's actually just kind of defining, all right, what's on the page? Oh, I've got the picture, I've got the title. The form is creating all of the different states that the page uses. If the user has logged in, or if they've clicked the balance button, just what they have actually interacted with on the page. That's what is being kept in here. The project itself, I said earlier, here we are. We can see that on the client side, right here is everything that you see, all the different web page components. When the client sends a request, like logging on, or if they want to create a new account, that request is sent to the server, which is currently set on Heroku, is where it's currently being hosted. As you can see up here, this is the address for the Heroku account. And the server handles the request. It's using both Node and Express, and my index and the data abstraction layer help take care of what the request is. They route it, and then all the data is saved on Mongo. I have a Mongo Atlas or MongoDB database that is keeping track of who the users are, what all of their accounts are. So when the user sends, say, a deposit request, that is sent through their client webpage to the server being hosted on Heroku, and that is then updated and sent, and any data that needs to go to Mongo, like their new balance, is sent and sent back. All of the data packets are sent back and forth as JSON data. So when the user's account name or their current balance is requested or fetched, they get that from the MongoDB that is sent into the server where the JSON data is parsed. And then whatever needs to be sent to the client, which is usually just the number or maybe the client name, when they log in, their name shows up on top, that is what is sent to the client. The way that Node and Express help out is they're part of the middleware on the server. The client sends or receives a request. Right here, if you're hosting it on your own web page, that's the port 3000. Otherwise, I'm using Heroku. And the server handles all of the requests, and they are routed through my index. I have, for this project, 2 different ways to authenticate users. I have, of course, the normal name, email, password that you would expect for most apps. And you can see in here I have several extra users that have been made, IDs, emails, they all have passwords. But the additional way I've made is to use Google. You can use Google OAuth 2, and I've actually used passport.js to help me create the Google Authentication. So you can log in using your Google account. When you log in, you can use your name. Hopefully you have a Gmail account all ready to go. And once you put in your password, my app takes care of creating and logging in with your Gmail account. And there we have it. Welcome me. Login successful. So, 2 different methods. Creating the normal login, just using a name, email, password. Very simple because all of that data is stored in my MongoDB. So it's just a simple fetch request. A little bit of salting on the password would be nice to integrate in the future, but it's very simple. For logging in through Google, I mentioned earlier how difficult it was to add more things to the card layout that I have made for this web page. So adding this extra button created a little bit of issues just to set that button to go through. But when I was able to get that just made, integrating with Google was very helpful to go through with Passport. That helped me take care of when the user has different login sessions, and logging in was actually very helpful just to go through the documentation for Passport, and Google provides several different ways to get through there. So that made it good. Just read the documentation. Wow. One of the issues I had was actually very interesting with the log out button. After you've logged in, and when you click the log out button, I didn't quite make my routes correct. I started having the user instantly log back in, instantly log back out, instantly log back in, instantly log back out. And because I was using very similar code for the create account, I ended up having, within a couple seconds, the first time I tried logging out, I ended up creating 40 different accounts under the same name. Oh, it was very silly. I had to quickly force close my server for that one. But very simple fix. Just had to make sure I cleared the data that was being saved for who the user was. Just a fun little lesson to see. Make sure you get your log out route created correctly the first time. Stay tuned for the next video as I dive a little deeper into the specifics of the code and how this bank project works.